Welcome to the Utilization of Money podcast with Todd Levine from Levine Financial Group. In this podcast, we teach our clients how to own their personal economy. Join us on this journey where we build upon your greatest asset as Todd draws from his years of expertise, solutions, strategies, and expert guest stories to help you understand how money works.
Hello and welcome to Utilization of Money with Todd Levine from Levine Financial Group. Today we're talking about 401ks. Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Good morning, Eric.
Different things to discuss about 401ks. Why is this topic timely?
Well, I think that this topic is very important because I think this is a huge part of most people's financial lives. It's extremely common. And I think it's very important for everybody to understand all the different facets of how they work.
Yeah, and I think that doing something like this close to the end of the year or close to the beginning of a new year is vitally important because people can actually say, I need to take a look and see what I'm doing with my 401k, if it's optimized. I need to talk to a professional about it. And that's what I would also say. I know you do a good job of that as well on the podcast, that when Todd is telling you guys this stuff, and I'm talking to the audience, obviously, think about it. Think about what you need to be doing, what changes you may want to make, and then reach out to your professional to ask them their opinion. And if you don't have a professional in your life, or if you don't have confidence in the professional you're using, Todd will give you a number to call at the end of the show here today. But I think, everybody does New Year's resolutions, right, Todd? Or most people do. I think this is a great way to introduce that as well, because this is something that everyone needs to look at if they've got one.
Well, that's true. This is the time of year when people are reevaluating everything and they're excited about making changes in pretty much every area of their life, whether it's physically or in their finances. So this is a great topic, and what's interesting about this is why I feel this is so important is that the 401k or traditional retirement vehicles are introduced into our clients' lives at such a young age. Their first job, they sit down, they're all excited, they're ready to get started in the workforce, and this is really the first thing that's presented to them. It's the end all. It's the retirement vehicle. It's the thing that they're so excited about because now they're working and earning money and putting money here. So it's amazing how where it starts and how it evolves. But what I think is, and what I know is that as this starts to evolve in our clients' lives, they start to realize that there's a lot of other pieces that are happening, and they're not really sure where this fits in and whether or not it's actually benefiting them or it's not benefiting them. And that's why I'm excited about having a conversation today about this.
All right, let's get started. What are we covering?
So there's a lot of good about 401k. I think, in our process and, in previous podcasts, we've talked about savings and we've talked about creating those habits for savings. So I'd have to say, to me, the best thing about the 401k plan is that it creates a forced savings. It creates the habit of a forced savings. So it's a retirement vehicle that will automatically come out of your paycheck, so you will not see it. Okay, so right off the bat, it's really forcing a lot of the population to actually save, which is a really good thing because a lot of people have bad habits. So if they didn't have this accessible to them, there's a chance that they probably and most likely would save nothing.
Well, you said it earlier. Most people get introduced to 401ks when they're young. That was exactly the situation in my case. I think I was 23, and I remember being pulled into the conference room with all the other, the executives of the company and all the other, I was working in a warehouse, all the other warehouse guys were all in there, and it was introduced to us, and here's what you can do. Here's 3 options, conservative, aggressive, whatever else was there. I'm like, all right, free money, huh? Okay. Somebody's going to match the money I put in there. Yeah. Okay. I'll just sign up. No clue as to how the thing worked or anything else. So I think it's great because I would not have saved money at that point in my life.
Exactly. So it's really popular for that. It makes people feel good that regardless of whether or not they're doing the proper planning outside, at least they feel comfortable knowing that they're saving something. And also, another benefit to this is, when you're getting set up in these employer based retirement plans and IRAs and 403Bs and profit sharing plans, is that sometimes the employer will actually match your contribution.
Mm-hmm.
So people perceive this as free money, right? So now they have the forced savings that's coming right out of their check, and their employer will match. Although it's not guaranteed and it can change, it is a nice benefit. So I think it's important. Number one is to obviously be diligent in your percentage that you're saving into the 401k, comes out automatically, and also to make sure that you understand the match, so you can take full advantage of those benefits that are being offered by your employer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Todd, what are some other things about 401ks?
Yeah. So one of the great benefits about putting your money into a 401k is the tax deferred. That is that it's tax deferred. So people are always interested in finding ways to pay less tax. And this is one way to pay less tax now, not necessarily later. And that's a topic and that's going to be a topic of conversation later on as we move through this podcast. But it is a benefit for certain people to be able to take advantage of certain deductions that they would not be able to create otherwise. So this is something that is not dollar for dollar deductions, but it is based on what your ordinary income tax rate is. So it is something, yet another benefit to the forced savings portion of it, the employer match, and also being able to get a little tax credit at the end of the year. Okay. Some other benefits to the 401k is investment options and growth. So the money that's going in is going to actually, you have choices to actually invest your money into the market, and you'll have, based on how your plan is designed, you'll have several options that are available to you. Okay. So, some plans have 401k representatives or 403B representatives that will come in and kind of guide you along in regards to what your risk tolerance is.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just take on that responsibility yourself, which I'm not sure is a great idea, but some people definitely feel that they have a good feel in the market, and they feel that they can choose their investment options and try to achieve higher yields in the market. So obviously, when you start to compile all these benefits, you can really start to create a nice retirement fund for yourself as time goes on.
Well, and that's just it. When the example that I gave, when I was 22 or 23 years old, there was a rep that was there in the conference room, and they kind of just outlined what the options were. But I had absolutely no clue. And I think the quote that I remember from maybe the rep or some people around the table, you're young, so you need to be as aggressive as possible, which, fine, that's one way to look at it. But at the same time, maybe that wouldn't have sat well with me. For me, I didn't care, because I just didn't, I didn't really pay attention, honestly, to all the things that the 401k could do or provide or whatever. But maybe there's somebody that doesn't feel like they want to take a lot of risk, even if they are young. So I encourage everybody to reach out to a professional to talk to them about it.
Exactly. I mean, and I think, just to be clear here, is that the benefits, when we talk about the benefits of the 401k plan, it's really more, this conversation is more product driven,
Yes.
right? It's like, these are the benefits of the 401k that you can possibly take advantage of. The challenge is that most people don't know how to navigate around and really take advantage of this. So it's really to their benefit later on. And I think that's when we start getting into the product. There's no plan built around the 401k plan. One of the benefits is that you can get growth in the market, and if you look at the S&P 500 over a 30-year span, and you say, okay, well, if I invest in the S&P 500, then, there's a chance I'll see on average a 5% rate of return if I reinvest my dividends. What does that mean, though? And so it is a benefit. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's all going to work out perfectly for you. It's just a benefit to this type of vehicle.
Yeah, that's definitely things to consider. There's lots of them.
Lots of them. And, to continue on, so 401k obviously, offers the ability to save, the ability to grow, the ability to take advantage of employer contributions, and take advantage of the tax code and be able to find deductions while you're doing it. There's also options on most of the plans now that give you a Roth option. Pay taxes now, pay them later. Some people are more interested in getting the deductions now, not really worrying about having to pay the taxes later. I think the Roth side of it is I'd much rather see our clients having Roth, tax-free benefits in distribution in retirement. So you do have the ability to actually choose this Roth option where you'd be putting money into these plans after tax dollars, and they'd be growing tax-free, and then you'd be able to distribute the income from the plan after 59 and a half, from 59 and a half on, in a tax-free manner. Okay. So, but you would not receive the tax deductions early on if you were to do this, right? You're going to you're going to pay the taxes on, early on at whatever the current tax rate is. And you're not going to really be rolling the dice later on if the tax rates actually go higher. And, so I like this benefit, and I think this is really, really interesting. It wasn't always like this. It wasn't always offered. If, in fact, our clients are contributing to the 401k plans or 403b plans, and this option does exist, we are seriously entertaining the idea of taking advantage of that along with the employer match.
Well, let me ask you a question, because here's the thing that bothers me is that somebody can sit down and talk to you or talk to their professional and say, okay, here are my options. I've got a couple kids right now. I've got a house right now. So I think that I would like to go ahead and do the Roth option, right? So because I'm going to pay less in taxes because I've got all those deductions, but maybe a single person or people that are married that have no children don't exactly have the same type of benefits. So they choose to do a traditional 401k, not the Roth option. But then the tax code changes, right? Like we just saw this last year.
Correct.
Right. So but that could change everything. Is there an option for people to switch from a traditional to the Roth, or from Roth to traditional?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the interesting thing. So most of the people that we sit down with who come in with 401k plans, which is a majority of them, or 403b plans or some sort of retirement vehicle, are usually set up traditionally, whereas they're getting the tax deductions and they know they're going to have a future tax liability. There are ways to actually convert to a Roth and convert. So for future contributions and also your actual money that has already been saved, you can convert that to Roth. The challenge is that in order to do that, you would actually have to pay the taxes now on that money. And so this really presents like an interesting conversation with the clients, because they don't want to pay taxes later, but they're not willing to pay the taxes now, even on a lump sum. So it's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
Right. So in certain situations like this, we'll have a strategy based around the Roth conversion opportunities, and do it on a systematic basis until we're fully converted to Roth. So they're not really feeling that tax hit all up front. And so we might be doing this if the client is receiving, bonuses or gets paid in different in different types of ways and has money coming in. So we'll reallocate different amounts and do the calculation on the Roth conversions there and get them all over. Sometimes it's difficult because clients do not get paid in that fashion, where they're having lump sums come in and they've already accumulated a pretty substantial amount of money into the plan, and in order to pay the taxes on that would be virtually impossible. Yeah. So they're sort of stuck with this accumulating tax liability that's continuously compounding. Although the new contributions going in, we can certainly readjust those to Roth contributions. So it's some of the things that we talk about, and this is why it's not really something that should really be handled by yourself. And most people don't know how to handle it, and they don't know how to address it, and they don't really understand truly what is the benefit of having tax-free type of income on the back end. And just like you said, do we really understand what's going on in the world and what's going on with taxes? Because what a lot of people don't realize, and what I say all the time is like when you're contributing to a plan like this, you need to understand that Congress and they control it all. We don't control anything. It's a government controlled vehicle. So at any point in time, they could change the distribution options. They could change the tax rates. So I like to control what we can control early. The Roth option is something that we can control. We understand a tax code today,
Nice.
but we have no idea what it's going to look like in 20, 25 years.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
All right, what else? Do we have any other points?
There's good and bads to everything. So I think, though, that one of the things we talk about with our clients all the time is having liquidity and accessibility to your money.
Mm-hmm.
We feel it's very, very important. I think we all understand that this money, we're basically locked out of this money until 59 and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a long period of time there, depending on when you started this plan, that you will not have access to this money. And the only way you would be able to access the money, obviously, is if you leave your employer. And then to do that, there would obviously be some penalties and all that stuff. So let's get back to the points. So are there other ways to access this 401k or these retirement vehicles during this period of time? The answer is yes. Okay. So you can access the money for certain reasons, for hardship reasons. You can first-time home buyer exclusions. And then you could actually borrow money from the plan,
Mm-hmm.
okay, up to $50,000. Okay. So there are options to be able to utilize this money, which is important. So you'll see a lot of times, although I might not agree 100%, but if this is your primary savings vehicle, then, usually most of your money is here, which could present a problem, right, if you have no access to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do have some access to it and you are looking to buy a house, or you run into some sort of financial problem, you can certainly get to money in certain ways. And some of the more positive aspects are like, the first-time home buyer exclusion, although it's not large. There's some educational options where you can utilize the money for educational purposes, but I've seen people utilize 401k loans to bridge them for certain scenarios, sometimes put down an house. Although I'm not saying I necessarily agree to that. We're looking at a benefit of the 401k in basically in giving us the ability to access some money if in fact you have to access money.
Yeah, and I have a quick story about that. I made a mistake. Todd, I'll just bear in my heart here. My wife and I took out a loan off our 401k. This was in our early years. One of our family members had some issues. We knew that he would pay us back without a problem, but it would take a little while. But we ended up taking a loan just under $20,000. And we were not working with a financial advisor at that time. We contacted the company directly because I had heard that you can get a loan off your 401k. So we contacted the company, looked at the paperwork, understood that, hey, you're paying the loan back with interest, but the interest goes into your account. So you're paying yourself back with interest. Oh, that's great. That's a good idea. It's more money in my account. It's forced because I have to make those payments. What I did not know is that if you leave your employment, the entire sum of that loan is due within, I think, 30 or 60 days.
It's considered a distribution, correct?
Exactly. And so we did not know that. We left the employment, and at that point, we had around $13,000 that needed to be paid back on that loan. And so it came out of our 401k, which caused penalties. It caused our income to go up that year by $13,000. It was a train wreck. I can't tell you how much money we lost because we didn't know that. And I didn't talk to an advisor about it. If somebody had just said, do you see yourself leaving your employment within the next 5 years because it'll take you this amount of time to pay it back or whatever it was, I would have said, well, I'm not sure, right? And then maybe we would have made a more educated decision. But man, that hurt. That really hurt. So that was something I should have talked to a professional.
But so it's and this is the thing that we need to understand, and this is why I believe this podcast is so very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that when I'm sitting down with our clients, we're going to education.
Mm-hmm.
It's understanding, right? So you had this vehicle that has all these positive things to it. And the way it ended up becoming it ended up becoming a very negative. And this is something that we have to understand, is that it is a product.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not properly positioned in the planning process, it could end up having like a negative effect. In 2008, when the market crashed, I heard an interesting statistic. More than almost 90% almost 90% of 401ks were fully loaned against. And it was interesting to me because, we were in a financial crisis. These plans were designed for retirement. They were they were considered to be the new defined benefit plans, right? The defined benefit pension plans, right? They were very, they were the thing. And until Congress created this thing called the 401k plan. And the reason why is because we couldn't sustain defined benefit plans. The benefits, there was just no way the system would be broke if in fact everybody was getting a defined benefit plan. So they changed this and created this thing called a 401k plan, which was the new defined benefit plan, which gave clients a lot of options, investment options, choices to save into it, what they wanted to save into it, and how, whether it was traditional or Roth. So this was the new defined benefit plan. So in 2008, it was interesting, that statistic, because the market crashed and almost everybody was fully maxed out loaned against their 401k. So I asked myself the question, I'm like, why was this? Why is everybody, if these are the new defined benefit plans and they're most people's retirement plans, why? And the question and the reason is because this is the only place people were saving their money into, right? Whether or not they were fully maxing it out or not, this was in their minds was like, okay, it's easy. I'm just going to have this. It's going to come out of my check. And this is where people weren't really planning, and they didn't really have other buckets of uncorrelated monies and cash and other places that they could access money. So when everything hit the fan, they had no other place to go but to this one vehicle. What was interesting about this is that not only did people have all of these taken all the money out of these 401k plans, is that a lot of people lost their jobs. So I don't know if you remember, is like in 2008, it was hard for people to find jobs. It was a really, really bad situation. So going to your example, is that when you have 90% of the population who has 401ks fully loaned against, and then they lose their jobs, which a large portion of them did, then all of a sudden, and within 60 days, they all find themselves with these large distributions that they can't put the money back. Yep. Okay, so it was really like a chain effect. So what happened was it had an enormous impact on our society and the retirement plans. So people couldn't just stick it out and say, I'm going to wait for it to come back. There was a lot of different variables. So I think that, to this is that there are really great positives to this. But I think it's really important to understand that it has to be properly structured in a really comprehensive plan, or else it can have severe negative effects. Well, if in fact something goes wrong in your world.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. I was not educated enough, and that's on me. That's truly on me. I should have known better, and I'm using air quotes saying that. But truly, if I had been educated, if I had sought out someone, a professional, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but if I had sought somebody out and said, hey, what do you think about this? I would have had much better decision-making skills. Todd, we're running really low on time, and I know that this is going to be a multi-part series, maybe 2 podcasts, maybe 3. Do you have anything for closing thoughts today?
Not really. I think we covered a lot, and and I think that the message we really wanted to get out here from an education standpoint is that if in fact you are contributing to a 401k plan or looking to contribute to a 401k plan, these are the benefits. But also understand that it's really, really important to have a professional beside you to help you coordinate what it is you're looking to do with an overall plan.
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't want this podcast to send out the wrong message that I believe everybody should just go put their money into a 401k plan and kind of put it aside and then hope for the very best in 20, 25 years. But I just wanted to, like I said, just point out some positives of the actual vehicle. And, and I look forward to in our next couple of podcasts is really digging down deep into some of the things that we really need to be careful of when actually investing into a vehicle like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it too, because I need to learn more about the pitfalls, booby traps, whatever, landmines, whatever you want to call them, within the 401k arena. And I think that everybody can use a little bit more education on that. So Todd, thank you so much for your time today. And I encourage everybody to tune into the next podcast where he's going to cover some of the pitfalls, and everybody needs to know that. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you, Eric.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
And thank you all for listening to the Utilization of Money podcast with Todd Levine. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below, because you're not going to want to miss that next one. It is part of this series, and it's vitally important if you have a 401k. Subscribing also makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Thanks again for listening today. For everyone at Levine Financial Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Utilization of Money podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.
Todd Levine, registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. Security products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. PAS is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Levine Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investment and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. Arkansas Insurance License Number 15670742 and California Insurance License Number 0H01258. 2019-90901, expiration 12 of 21.